Hello, and welcome to the Open Ike Show, the place where we open up about open mics. I'm Andrea CK, and I'm your host today. Our guest today is Isaac Kiener. He's a comedian, a filmmaker, and my actual son. Welcome, Isaac, to the Open Ike Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad you could come. We're going to open the show the way we open every show. What do you think the LA open mic scene means to you?
Oh, such a good question. I love it. First and foremost is practice. Stand-up is a performative endeavor, and you have to get your hours, you have to experience the room and the jokes as they're written, but then spoken. You can't really do it in front of a mirror. People get upset if you do it at like social calls and stuff like that. Like, I really have to stop myself from running bits with friends sometimes. So it's really this outlet for all of the creative energy that I'm building up and harnessing and then getting those opportunities to release. So certainly practice. I think networking community is a huge element, especially in LA, where there's so many of us. And, you know, just kind of meeting people this last year, like everyone's energy is pretty similar, right? We're throwing all of ourselves at this almost crazy dream. And the open mic is the manifestation of that dream at this level.
Right. Now, you had done comedy a little bit in New York before coming out here. Could you comment? Could you compare the scenes? How would you compare the scenes?
Yeah, they're unique to themselves, but they have similarities that other scenes don't really have. I mean, there's a few kind of top tier scenes. I'm kind of just brainstorming things with Chicago and Boston, where there's a history of a lot of clubs and a lot of big names coming out of it. But like if you're in Toledo, and you're the best in that scene, and you come to LA, you're square one, you know, in terms of social clout and all that stuff. Like, yeah, maybe you've got the skills and you can grow quickly, but that's what you do, is you develop and then you come to somewhere like LA or New York to actually then make that next step. So that's what they have in common. What do they have that's different? I haven't crunched the numbers. I would imagine like volume per capita or whatever, like they're similar in terms of like how much access to open mics there is any given night.
Okay.
I think what sets New York apart is the subway system.
Yeah.
Right, where you can absolutely get from one club to the next. And if you want, I don't know who would want to do this, you can run 3 open mics in the same night in New York and still actually kind of stay a decent amount of the show. If you're trying to do multiple mics in LA, you're leaving early. The traffic, the parking, oh my God. So what does that mean? It means people kind of only go to one mic, right? They're staying till the end, and then they're building that community after the show. And so I really do get, I mean, I was doing okay building community in New York, but it comes more naturally here because people stick around. They get a beer. I mean, we did a mic last night and we got invited to the happy hour, you know, so I think because of the inaccessibility to multiple mics in the same night, you end up with a more social scene.
That's a really interesting difference between them. LA is really spread out, and that might help with sort of the local dialect, if you will, or the local network of relationships. So how many different kinds of clubs or scenes have you tried out here?
Yeah, so, you know, I kind of think of stand-up, there's, you know, what I call like straight stand-up, joke, you know, punchline, setup, punchline, setup, punchline. You know, I would say that there's like an alt scene, and, you know, some of my writing is a little bit more pieces than joke, 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 right? There's more of a through line of like I'm building a special 3 minutes at a time, right? So that I kind of think of that differently. Maybe it kind of borders with like storytelling, which is going to be more kind of concrete and, with that through line. And then of course, storytelling on its own. And modern clowning, I would say the next ones I'm going to kind of get into, which are less stand-up, but certainly performative comedy, is like character improv sketch. Like those are kind of the classes that are available that I want to get into. But for the open mics, I can pretty much say that it's that this kind of straight stand-up with this little bit of alt thing that I'm doing, and then these modern clowning jams that I'm going to. Which for me are centered around the Elysian and Lyric Hyperion, which thank God are a mile from my house each. So I feel like I'm in the epicenter of the modern clowning scene.
Right.
I've made a ton of friends kind of doing those things, and it's super interesting. I had no idea I was modern clowning this whole time, but like going back to grade school and like in the classroom, I was just being, a goofball, and that's part of this clowning scene.
That part is true.
Yeah.
You have, when I'm not here, you host a weekly podcast.
That's right.
Called The Open Ike.
Correct, yeah.
And so in that capacity, you've gone around to more places than when you normally would. What have you found about a room that makes it kind of a warm room or a brutal room? What have you picked up about that?
There's sort of the obvious stuff, which is like, are people engaged with the performer, right? And it could be they're engaged with their own material as an alternative. It could be they're engaged with someone else in the room. They could be outside smoking a cigarette, right? So engagement from the audience, which is built up, of course, of comedians trying to get their stage time.
Yeah.
So, I get the distraction. I try and be a supportive person in the room, be engaged, but so that can be tough. But so what's a way to combat that is to have people in the room in some capacity that are there really to focus or like know they're expected to focus. So one of my favorite mics is Funny Games at the Elysian Skunk Room Monday nights at 7:30. It's a 3-minute mic with a bucket pull. And what's cool is they have 3 hosts, right? And that might not seem like a big deal, but from my perspective, at the end of the night, when there's only 5 comics left in the room, no, there's 8, right? So just having extra people there who know to laugh and do it and engage, I think that's a small thing that shows can do. I think a lot of times they don't want to do that because then you have to share the stage time with more hosts, right? Who get guaranteed slots. So it's a push-pull, and there's times where not all 3 of the comedians, the host, will get to go up, right? If it's a busy room, they'll kind of step back and say, I don't need the stage time tonight. I'd rather encourage and cultivate this room.
Well, the Skunk Room, there's no bar or anything.
Yeah.
But the Cantors, we were at Cantors the other night, and towards the end of the night, the boisterous people at the bar, some of them were comics also.
Yeah.
That got noisy and distracting. So, like, what's the worst kind of distraction you've ever had to deal with?
I think it was in New York, but I'm blanking on the specific story. In LA, there are some rooms, and so I think it's the host that like cultivates the personality of the mic. And I keep saying room, but really it's like the room on that night.
Yeah.
Right, because there's different hosts on the next night. And I think that there's hosts that have cultivated rooms where it's just more okay to not heckle, but just kind of be more vocal. And, sometimes it's sharing in the set. But the truth is, like, if I see that happening where I'm telling a joke and someone's like stepping on a punchline or something like that, at least they're engaged with my material, right? So it's like good and bad.
Right.
And like, listening back to the audio, you can hear people like pitching their own punchlines,
right.
So it's,
That's a good thing.
yeah, you take the good with the bad. The distractions, whatever they are, you just gotta let them go.
Okay.
And there's a room where like a door opens and shuts randomly, and people are walking in, and I think that at the open mic level, there's a tendency to engage with them, to, hey, come on in, we're just, it's my 5 minutes, but please, by all means, whether it's aggressive or not, you're just wasting your time, right? You're not telling your jokes, you're not in your material. There's something to be said to be like acknowledging the room and what's happening in the room.
Yeah.
But I think at the open mic level, the priority should be the material.
That doesn't count as crowd work when you.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
exactly.
it doesn't count. Yeah. Have you ever had have you ever been really heckled, and you have some advice or responses for that?
The first time I went on a stage in New York, me and my buddies were drunkenly just walking around town, and I'd talked about wanting to do stand-up. I'd even written some jokes, maybe like performed them. I feel like there was a birthday party of yours back in Connecticut when I was very young, but in New York, so we kind of like mosey into the club. We're like, oh, it's a comedy club, let's go in. And we go in, it's the tail end of a show. I don't even know if it's an open mic. Like there's not a whole lot of people in the room, but like, with the 4 of us come in, it kind of makes a little commotion. And I forget how it came up. I probably just shouted it, but I was like, hey, I have a bit.
Oh, no.
Can I do my bit? And the guy was like, yeah, what, I don't care. So it must have been an open mic, right?
Right.
And so I just go up, and it's, I don't even remember what bit I was doing, but it was one of my early bits that I had. And my friend,
Your friend.
my buddy who I was in the room with,
Oh no.
shouts, "You suck."
Oh no.
And I go, Dad? I didn't know you were here.
Good save. Good save. That's nice.
I mean, maybe that's a little cliche, or
Right.
everyone's got that joke, but it was cool that I did it on the fly. It wasn't cool that my buddy heckled me.
Right.
We didn't know better back then.
If that happens to me, I'm thinking of going, don't heckle me. I'm new at this.
Yeah.
I can't deal with this.
Yeah,
What do you think?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, in New York, I did training with Jeff Lawrence, and at Laughing Buddha, he taught me, have bullets locked and loaded for different kinds of hecklers.
Yeah.
If you're going to do this professionally, someone will shout "you suck" at you at some point. It is guaranteed. And if you accept that that's going to happen, and come up with a punchline, and have it locked, or 4, right? Yeah. Have it locked and loaded.
Yeah.
Then you can flip the script.
I got a good one for that situation.
Yeah.
Not you, buddy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But you got to be on top of that. You have to have more. You have to hold the room.
You have to, absolutely, and interestingly, you don't know how the room feels about that heckler.
Right.
They may
right.
like the heckler, and then you're creating an enemy of the room, not just the heckler.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I noticed.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah, of course.
This side of the room is very interesting.
Oh, is it different than?
It's a whole other perspective. Okay, what were you saying?
Okay. You helped me prepare for this trip because I came out with the intention of getting up as much as I could. And I did some research. And I found some interesting niches besides the clowning. I found a lot that identified themselves as queer and trans and non-binary friendly. I found a couple that had a funny name. I forget what it was called, but it was something like skin tags or something like that, which is it's a dermatological phenomenon in older women. And so I felt like that was going to try to be a safe space for female performers and stuff like that. And so is there a lot of stuff like that? Is there, like, one of the folks we saw the other day was like kind of blue, not dark blue, but kind of blue. Not everything is the right fit for every room. So I don't know if you've been to enough to really make that estimation, but what do you think is out there on the horizon there? What types of rooms are specialized?
Yeah, some of this will be from experience, some will be just from conversations I've had with different comics and kind of learning a little bit about their perspective. But one thing that kind of comes up, when I'm talking to lady comics is the idea of lady mics.
Yeah.
Right, and there's some that I'm not welcome, literally. And then there's some that are, you just need to be like lady friendly.
Yeah.
It's a safe space for women. You can attend, you can perform maybe only after all the women have gone up, whatever the format of the room is. And ultimately, that's great. Everyone deserves a safe space, and there are so many rooms, especially historically, where only I was welcome. And so, having those spaces, we said, gender specific, gender identity specific, age, there's enough options for me that I don't feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
I want to know their bits. Like, I want to see them and support them, so I'd love to be welcome in the room. And to be completely frank, like, I haven't found a room that won't let me in. Like, that, I'm just imagining that when it says Lady Mike, that I shouldn't sign up, So maybe I have the misconception.
Yeah.
But, for what it is, so Lady Mikes, and there's, like, the older mics. Oh, okay, so and then, I think there's the other idea is like themed mics, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not who can attend or who can't attend, but it's what can you talk about. That can range from clean and dirty to there's a mic I haven't been to, I'm gonna go to, I think it's called like High Times or something like that. It's at a dispensary.
Oh, nice.
And I smoke more than most people, marijuana. And so I do have bits about drug use, bits about drug banned concerts, and almost getting arrested with mushrooms in the trunk. I'll tell you that story off the mic. But so mics like that, I keep a list of, I want to do this one, I want to do that one. So I think that's a cool theme for a mic.
That's got to be an easy room because I got high and everything seemed funny.
Yeah.
Right? It's a pretty easy room.
Now, I will say I don't smoke before I perform.
Oh.
So if I play it high, it would be a play.
Right. I'm curious about stand-up because I mostly see you as doing stand-up, a little bit of the podcasting now you're developing in that, and then which has a lot of aspects, with technical and everything else.
Right.
But and you mentioned some of them, but just riff for a minute on like what other kinds of training or practice do you think support your comedic goals?
That's a really good question, and the question that you didn't ask is, what are my comedic goals, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of will feed into it. And so, to an extent, I don't know. The goal of like just continuing with it, keep writing, keep performing. Right now I have a goal of, as one should at kind of like maybe the 1 or 2 year mark, is like having a tight 5-minute set that works, can work for any live audience, and submitting that set to get booked on smaller shows to build a name, right? That's kind of the stage I'm at, just above Open Iker. So that's certainly a goal of mine. But I have this other goal that I'm kind of coming to terms with, which is just supporting the scene. And I think that the show is kind of an example of doing that, giving voices to people and opportunities for funny people to be funny, right? Another one of my passions is filmmaking and writing and everything that goes along with that. So, the other skills that I've developed are the technical skills, working with cameras, working with microphones, working with lighting, and, that if you're networking and you're able to say something like, I can film your set, I can film a sketch idea you have, like those kinds of skills, I feel them percolating and kind of helping broaden my own, the network, the value I'm bringing to the scene, right? And I guess, I mean, I would say if I never get past this open mic level, but can carve some space for me to be a producer of whether it's actual stand-up shows or like comedy adjacent sketches, that kind of stuff. That feels like it's quickly becoming a goal, right? Because it does just tie into all of this lifelong skill development that I've done of those filmmaking abilities.
Right. I was going to ask you about hosting. Is hosting like, would that be a comedy goal? And what would you be trying to develop would that be a next stage for you, or is it a side aspect that you can develop, or how would you look at that opportunity?
Yeah. Well, hosting can mean a lot of different things. And, I could host an open mic right now.
Sure.
Right.
Get a room, get a mic, get a people.
Yeah. I mean, I have a mic, I have a mic speaker,
Yeah.
I have a pizza place I can stage an open mic at. But I don't feel right now of having a goal of setting up an open mic.
Okay.
And hosting it, right? The hosting goal that I do kind of maybe feel is getting past at a club, right? And having the opportunity night in, night out to get 5 minutes at the top, meet all of the pros, build a name, right? That I can see that being a goal.
Right.
I'm far off of there, right? Before
Right.
you can do that, you need to have experience in real rooms, not open mics, but in clubs and bars where there's a real audience. You need some crowd work skills, right? So if that does become a vision for the future for me, then I know that getting through the open mic scene and into the bar show, the booked show, the showcase, these are like the tiers above open mic, that it'll come with those opportunities and with that experience, then I would feel confident to go to a club and be like, I can actually host like a real showcase here.
I see. So getting booked at a show at a club that does comedy would be a next step for you, because like right now you mentioned some other things which would be like, well, let's talk about that. Maybe you can detail that out for us. Slotted. The 5 minutes that you get, you said at other smaller venues where you get a real audience. How do you go about developing stuff like that?
So this is, I know a little of this from New York when I was actually doing some booked shows, like bar shows, and then talking to people here. Like, there are people we've had on that they host an open mic on Monday and a booked show on Thursday.
Okay.
Right? The same host, maybe even the same room, but it's a different, right?
Rule.
And so the Monday night show is only attended by comedians.
Yeah.
And the Thursday night show, they're selling tickets, they're selling drinks at the bar, all that stuff. They're actually maybe breaking even or something like that.
Yeah.
So that, if you look at that comedian's Instagram, it'll have kind of tags for each of the shows. You go into the book show and it'll have the submission process. It'll have an email to send your clip, right? Something like that. Or meeting in real life and someone seeing me at open mics and knows I could do it in a real crowd, right? And that takes skill and practice and competency. So,
Right.
so it's either going to be word of mouth or actually doing submissions. And if you were to ask me, what does the LA booked bar show scene mean to me, right?
Let's pretend I just asked you that.
It's aspirations. It's the next phase, and it's real audiences.
Yeah.
I can't stress enough how comics laugh at the weirdest things.
Yeah.
And I do it too.
Yeah.
I don't laugh at a great joke. I smile and nod because I know that's a great joke. And,
Right.
and I'm thinking of, what was the actual structure? How did they hide that? How did they think of that?
Yeah.
What I laugh at open mics are the off-the-cuff moments, the improvised lines, the mess-ups,
Right.
And or when a comedian's playing to the back of the room, right? So that's what tickles me. but I'm not a real audience member. There's something.
Okay, pause for definition. What is playing the back of the room? What does that mean?
Playing the back of the room, so who's in the back of the room at these book shows, at these comedy clubs where it's not an open mic, it's the other comedians, right? It's the peanut gallery, if you will, right? And so playing to the back of the room is telling a joke that you're trying to get other comics to laugh, specifically.
Wow.
I think-
Okay, so like inside material.
Yeah, and there's some value in that. And honestly, so like I play to the back of the room sometimes in open mics, right? And what is that? How does that manifest? I'm telling a joke about open mics,
Right.
about being an open micer,
Right.
about we all know this thing because we're all open micers.
Oh, it's relatable.
But that material,
Yeah.
by definition, will
can't
not
use-
work
Yeah.
with a real audience.
Yeah.
There's some value in it. There's getting other comedians to laugh with you, right? You're making a name for yourself,
Yeah.
but you're not developing material
Yeah.
for a real audience. And then you can kind of accidentally do that at a real show.
Yeah.
You know, they'll kind of say like comics comic, right?
Right.
I mean, sorry, Andy Kindler. You know, I mean, I think Brian Regan sometimes is considered kind of comics comic, but it's
But he's broad as
yeah,
well.
exactly. But so like Kindler he's a professional comedian. He's been doing it for decades, and he's not a household name, right? He's just a touring comic, but every comedian knows who he is, knows his stuff. He's at the Friars Roast or whatever
Got
it is,
it.
you know. And so you can build a career on playing to the back of the room.
Yeah.
You got to sprinkle in some normie jokes at certain points, but I think it's to an extent it's a decision, but it also might be kind of a matter of style and the personal, the comic.
One question that I have for you actually is, are there any subjects that you consider taboo?
Yeah, taboo, sure. I mean, does taboo mean you can't do it, or you just need to consider it taboo if you're doing it?
Yeah, and then, I mean, for me, part of my answer would be something similar. It would be, how are you going to handle
Yeah.
that taboo material?
All right, so I strongly believe that no topic is off limit. I will say that there may be, I mean, for me, there are some words that are off limit,
Okay.
but that's
The
not.
N-word, for
Yeah,
sure.
right.
You
But
told
that's
me that.
but that's not a topic, and so
Right.
for topics, it's really just how risky is it, and how delicately, I think of it as professionally, do you approach the topic? And when it comes up, I always bring up Bill Burr. Bill Burr can and does talk about anything. And you, sir, are no Bill Burr. Right? And Bill it's not only just earning the reputation, it's doing the work. It's understanding the structure. And a lot of the times when they're doing something taboo, they're holding up a mirror, right? Or they're flipping it on its head, and it ends up kind of just being like they're referencing something that's taboo, but the actual joke of it is about something much more accessible within that taboo topic.
Right.
And that's the skill that the professionals have and develop and employ, that if an open micer, especially an open micer who's asking that question, I would say you're not ready to touch on those topics. And I've seen people eat shit. Can we swear? Is that?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Why don't you ask the host?
Can we swear?
We can swear, yeah.
Okay. I've seen comedians at open mics eat shit by talking about something that they didn't have, they didn't have the reference. They didn't, it's not their topic to talk about, or they just didn't do it right.
It was like shock. It was kind of shock.
Yeah, and there's a tendency for
undercooked.
beginners to kind of go for that shock comedy thing.
Right.
But I've told people, I'm like, talking around funny things isn't a joke, right? I get that you think that dick and pussy, blah, blah, whatever's funny, but you
yeah.
didn't craft anything and you didn't present anything other than say dick and pussy.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So a related kind of topic is that, oh, let's see how to say this. A lot of the comedians that I know like have a quirk or a disability or something like that. Insecurity is very typical. Self-doubt is a very common topic for for comics, and like I know that territory, right? So, and I think Drew Lynch is pretty good. He has a stutter.
He has a traumatic brain injury leading to a stutter.
Phil Hanley, one of my comedy idols, is like
He's dyslexic. Here, you list the comedian.
Yeah.
I'll give you the.
Yeah, exactly. Their thing.
The only Louis CK has no personal flaws. That's.
Yes. I have a bit about Louis CK that is on a taboo subject. Yeah. I'll do it some other time. So being with that, like, I think insecurity is like a human thing. And what do you see that as one of your quirks, or what do you see as your quirks?
Yeah.
And how do you work with that? Because you have to be confident about your insecurity.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say I probably feel a little more insecure than my material might suggest.
Okay.
In general.
Okay,
I probably do have some jokes that kind of play with that. And I, my quirk, gosh, I think that I'm clever, right?
Yeah,
and I think I'm like a wordsmith. I mean, I had a creative writing degree, right? So the quirk might be, and I guess Seinfeld kind of touches on this. He says he gets paid to think about topics way more than he ought to.
Oh.
Right? So that you don't have to.
Okay.
Right? And he attacks a topic from every direction. And he finds the best version of it, and then that's his material, right? And so, breaking down a joke and the science of laughter and comedy, I think that bringing that almost studious approach to the joke writing, and then in the performance as well, you're making a million little decisions each performance. I think that's kind of my most unique element. As far as my ADHD probably is closest to what you're getting at with kind of what can I be vulnerable about in my own shortcomings or whatever. At first it was finances. I was broke. Yeah. Right? And so a lot of my jokes were about how broke I am. Yeah. Right? So I guess to an extent it evolves over time. But at the same time, that's always exactly what you're talking about is always going to be part of a comedian's bag, is opening up, being vulnerable, being authentic, true to oneself. All of those things that we know in here are just essential to comedy. Right. That's what it leads to, is talking about vulnerable, personal things that really no one else has that same perspective. Yeah, so it's getting perspective on how you are. And even if it's, does it have to be relatable? Because, if you did, let's say, Jewish material, or if I did mafia material, because I have a little introduction to that from my early life, it's like, how do you make something like that relatable, actually? Yeah. So I have an answer. Yeah. I heard early on, and I believe this to be true, good comedians get on the audience's level. Okay. Great comedians bring the audience up to their level. Oh, lovely. My early material was described as professorial. Yeah. Where I teach people something and then crack the joke. Yeah. Right? And so it's approach. What was the question? Yeah. If you're working with something that's kind of unique and quirky,
how do you keep that relatable? How would you?
It
work
doesn't
with-
have to be relatable. It doesn't have to start as relatable. You have to bring it to a point of being relatable, or find the in, right?
Find the end.
And it can be like just a metaphor, right? That paints the picture so clearly. I wish I had a perfect example, but if you're comparing, I mean, I have a whole bit about let's just Jewish material, and the jokes are so universal. So the topic matter doesn't have to be relatable, but the punchline and the underlying comedy of it at least needs to be accessible.
You gave me a really good example. You gave me, when we were workshopping one of my bits, you gave me a really good example of this. Because I said, like, I have a line of jokes that is only half-baked, but it's about, like I'm complaining about how hard it is to find my audience, because half my stuff is, like, really Jewish and Hebraic and all this stuff. And then the rest of it is all this, like, mafia and wild woman stuff. Right? And so you said I should open by saying, so, my dad was in the mafia and I'm a rabbi, of course. You can relate, right? Like, so just like, riff on it. It's like, yeah, feel sorry for me. It's like, that's the funny part, is the contrast of thinking that's relatable.
And I hear the vulnerability in the knowing that it's not relatable, and the positive spin is unique, but the negative spin is, you had a fucked up childhood, right? And there's relatability in there, the specifics aside, so I think that it's maybe more relatable than you think, but yeah, that flipping that script and kind of embodying the character of someone who isn't in tune with other people's experience, right? And like, kind of treating it like, everyone gets this when in your heart of hearts. So unique, such a unique upbringing. I mean,
exactly.
I would love to develop the TV show.
Does comedy, your process, what does it help you process? Does it help you in your own understanding? I think it would almost have to, right? As you climb to that point of perspective or seeing what to laugh about in our own foibles.
Through my own comedy, I'd say I've definitely worked through, I'm not going to say like childhood trauma, but...
your mom's in the room.
Of course. The questioning, I mean, to this day, I hate authority so much so that I don't even build a schedule for myself, because then I become the authority that I hate. And so kind of exploring as a child how rule-breaking I could be, and just to understand my own, I mean, I just have a tendency towards comedy, right? And like, I'm horrible in moments of grief. I mean, at funerals, I swear I was practicing my golf swing, and I remember sitting at a funeral because I just couldn't engage with the grief of it. So I think that some of the process gives me opportunities to check that tendency in myself, or
to see it,
to have the outlet, right? To I can do it there, so I don't have to do it here. I mostly fail at that, but I think kind of first you got to see it, then you can do it.
Yeah. So Isaac, I've been reading this book by Elliot Kalin, and he talks about something called voice. I'd like to see you weigh in about voice. One of the things he says about that, I think, I'm starting to understand a little bit more about that, but something that really hit me that I'm exploring now is this authenticity, okay?
Yeah.
But it's not just there's not just one authentic way that I think about anything, right? And so he says, Elliot says that the audience kind of tells you in their responses, like if that critical voice or pity me voice or whatever it is. So how have you worked with the idea of voice? I feel like that is so important to kind of cohering your comedy persona, if you want to say that.
Yeah. So first off, and you didn't say the word perspective, but I think that they kind of go hand in hand, but are also separate. I think perspective, like, you can't really control as much because it's really ingrained in you. It is, you know, I can't do jokes from a queer Black woman perspective, right? You know,
Right.
so now I'm sitting here, can I do a queer Black woman voice? I don't know, right? But so voice comes kind of two ways. It comes with time, right? You can't force it. And it certainly originates from, like, your authentic self, right? So it might be really close to how you actually are in the world, but there's more to it because it needs to carry that funny weight, right? And so as a beginner, what I think I did and what I think most people do and probably should do is emulate. Emulate. Find comics you love, and, you know, voice starts with writing, right? I think people think it's in the performance, right? But it's really in the writing.
Yeah.
And so find comedians you love, write jokes that you think they could tell, and then try and tell it the way you think they would tell it.
Oh.
Right? And, you know, it doesn't have to be stand-up. It can just be, I mean, I think for myself, I have a couple. I think that you'll love and appreciate some of these. I think Dave Barry really influences my comedy. I think he's clever. I think he's a wordsmith. I think he's overanalyzing mundane topics. You know, that's all, it rings true. So kind of more recently, I feel like I'm kind of incorporating some Rory Scovel kind of elements into what I'm thinking about. And the best comedians are obsessed about comedy. They know everyone's kind of ways about going about it. So that's emulation at first is great, and then it's gonna maybe blend a few, and this just because you know what the blend of comedians that you're working, you don't have to share that, right? And it can become your own voice, and then that is its own thing. So I think there's a lot more to it that I think I'll kind of formulate and learn as I keep with the craft. But yeah, I think that it goes beyond the vocal, the physical, and it's really, it's tied in with perspective, but a little separate.
I was going to ask you, actually, and you probably named a few of them just now, like, who are you studying? Like, who do you really pay attention to in that way?
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm like studying comedy. It means I'm watching YouTubes most of the day, you know, but actually I'm making those mental notes and analyzing their structure. Yeah, who are you studying now?
Sure. So it's not just stand-up, right, first off. So Scott Aukerman is huge for me. He's a podcaster, former screenwriter. He does some acting, but his kind of expertise, he plays like the straight man and in his own shows. And he brings in these characters. So it's the comedic voice that he has is like, one idea is like, if there's an opportunity for a misunderstanding, he will lean into it. And, you know, it can be just like a homonym, literally, that he'll just immediately go with, I'm gonna assume you meant the other thing that doesn't make sense as opposed to the word that makes perfect sense. And he's playing with these improv artists where the rule is yes and. So when he takes that crazy turn that's justified in the language, the job of the people he's playing with is to say, yes, that is what I meant. And then the whole conversation is gonna go somewhere completely unexpected to anyone on set, right? So I do that too, right? If there's an opportunity for confusion, as I've sometimes said, my comedy is forced confusion.
Okay.
Right? And that's when I'm doing a certain brand of it. But So Scott Aukerman, I'm studying him. Of course, as a child, we can say it together. 1, 2, 3. Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, Hedberg, yeah.
And who tragically passed away early. So I've already gone through all of his material, right? There isn't new material, but what's it called? Joke? One-line comic.
Yeah, one-liners, yeah.
And, the incorporation of like the drug personality kind of thing, and his delivery and even his writing is just so unique, so unparalleled that you got to study that for yourself. I've been recently into a gentleman named Ruben Solo.
Okay.
That I'm going to show you some clips a little later, and it's very much modern clown.
Shout out to Ruben.
Yeah, shout out. We'll tag him. He just had a new special released yesterday. That's like his crowd work special, but it's all bits with him and his producer. That just like it's not it's at a crowd member's expense.
Oh no.
So it is crowd work, but it's like it's presented as like kind of standard crowd work. Some of the bits are, but it's very unique voice.
Clever. It sounds like
listen, this is a guy who got booed off of America's Got Talent. Right. So it's real. Some of it is anti-comedy. I think it was pretty brilliant, So.
Okay, thank you. Now, the anti-comedy, that's where I wanted to go, actually, because some of the stuff that you do sometimes, I would describe it that way. Say a word about what you like about it, why you're drawn to it, and maybe just define it if people need that.
Yeah, so I think it ties into kind of what I've said about like being a clever wordsmith, right? And so like I have jokes that, I've heard comedians be like, "Oh, that's a thinker. You'll get more of my material on your car ride home or whatever."
Right,
And there's something true to that, but I think it's lame to kind of like say that. I'd rather get the laugh like just a little delayed, like 3-4 seconds, where you have to, part of it's like A to C thinking.
A to C.
Right. So you've got a topic. There is this parallel or related topic, B, and then there's another topic that's parallel or related to B. And so if you're on this A topic and you say the C thing, then the joke is the recognition of what that B portion is that ties the two things. And it's, it could be a simile. It's like, oh, well, that's like, taking a peanut butter sandwich to the Met. I don't know. Like, but if you've got a thing you're talking about, and you can be like, it's like this, and then they're kind of figuring out what that middle portion of the joke that you're not saying.
Oh, you could do just a huge amount of misdirection with that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's
but it's risky if it doesn't land. You're either standing in front of a quiet room, or you find yourself explaining a joke.
which is kind of like dying on stage.
Yeah, unless you've got a punchline behind it or something. You can do anything.
Yeah.
That's taboo, right? Explaining a joke, that's a taboo topic. But some of the kind of more heady pieces that are certainly approaching anti-humor, anti-comedy, it's for me, right? It tickles me. I'm filming them and I'm playing them for people who know me, right? There's this thing I heard my buddy phrase to me recently, and I've adopted it. Isaac being Isaac.
Yeah.
Right? You get that.
Right.
So, I don't necessarily think it's important to have the best joke in the world. I think it's important to have fun on stage, elicit some laughter, and do something unique that you're proud of. I don't think I want to build a career out of like anti-humor necessarily, but sprinkling it in and kind of tickling myself that way feels important. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well, choo-choo, I've got it. I've seen you do anti-comedy a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about the bit with the guitar song when you get up
Yeah.
there. Some kind of emotional introduction about the song and why you had to write it. It's much better when you see it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Skunk Room, I guess. Is that where you did that
I would say
one?
shout out to Funny Games, which is
Funny Games
the
at the
specific mic in that room.
Okay, so you did that. And that the whole bit was that you never got to playing the song because you just kept interrupting yourself. And that was like funny. That was actually funny.
The premise, sorry, so it's a 3-minute mic.
Yeah.
And so the premise is, I wrote a song that's 3 minutes and 20 seconds,
right.
but I really think it's important that I
Right.
play it for you
Right.
guys. So I'm just gonna go right into it and then never actually start the song. And so just keep delaying and then keep like referencing, I'm sorry, it's a little more than 3 minutes. And then just like everyone in the room knows is like, as I get further into my set, is he ever gonna start it?
Exactly.
I never did. So I called that piece
Anticipation.
the song that never starts.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of misdirection in there and all types of things. It's almost like where, like, it reminds me of where Seth Meyers will just say something, and if it's not working, he'll just really stay there and just let that be the funny thing. You know what I mean? No, I want to comment
Yeah.
on what you did and then get your comments on that, which is, when I saw you do that bit, I thought, if you stayed in character that whole time and just did it and just played with the audience expectation, reaction, everything, that's a good set because you committed. That was interesting to me about that. Although I get it can be annoying. That's the thing. I wouldn't want to be that kind of character, but it's certainly something, to play with.
Sure. So first off, there's a lot of topics. Try everything.
Try everything, right?
At the open mic level, there's 0 stakes.
Yeah.
No one's going to remember your specific joke that you did.
Oh, bummer.
If something tickles you, do it. And in that set, I realized I was a
Yeah.
prop comic that day.
Okay.
So I brought up with
Yeah, the guitar.
and a portable amplifier.
Yeah, the amplifier, yeah.
It's like it's the dude who prepared for this and then didn't do it. Right?
Clowning, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So try it all before you get famous so that you don't ruin your reputation later.
Got it.
Right? Now, that bit went over in the room. It got a lot of laughs, and it didn't disrupt the flow of the room.
Right.
Now, what I did the next time I performed in that room, because the whole bit was conceived as 2 sets, the song that never starts, and then just the song, right? With the introduction, this song needs no introduction.
Yeah.
So anyone who was in the room for both mics would have that experience. And I think I said, I'll have to play it next week or something like that after the first week. So they had that experience of, okay, this is like to be continued. It just so happened there was a pretty decent turnover from one mic to the next.
Right.
So there weren't a lot of people in the room who knew what the heck was happening.
Right.
And then I'm just up there singing a song at a comedy mic, at an open mic stand-up night.
Oops.
Now, there's funny elements to the song,
Okay.
but it's not jokes per minute. Like, there is some heart to it. Like, the outro isn't funny at all. So it didn't flow with the room. And the comedian who performed immediately after me had to reset the room by saying, if I remember correctly, word for word, it was, I love performing after musicians. Right? So you're saying that it was like risky and, the anti-comedy. My point is that when I actually played the song, it was more disruptive to the comedy.
Got it.
So go figure.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the shirt and just say whatever you want.
Well, I'm on record on this podcast saying that your set starts when you walk into the room. The appearance, the haircut, the shirt, the equipment you walk in, like everything's setting the mood for who you are, and it precedes any word that you speak.
Right.
I'm always thinking about this. I'm never wearing a random shirt. It might seem that way, and it may have nothing to do with the material I'm doing, but have something to do with something else that's happening that day. But if I can get the audience thinking before I've said a word, what the hell is happening? What is about to happen? Then it primes the pump for my material. So I love this shirt. This is, it's my ugly Christmas sweater.
Yeah.
It is Grateful Dead themed, which is a true kind of element of my identity.
Yeah.
And it is a bit of a nod to Phil Hanley.
Oh, really?
Who is
my comedy crush?
your comedy crush, one of my favorite performers, who it seems in every clip he puts on Instagram is wearing a shirt with some Grateful Dead member, usually
He's
Jerry
never
Garcia.
not in a Grateful Dead shirt on stage.
His special, he's not.
Oh.
Right. So there's times where he doesn't, but I think he's thinking about it, right? He's like, okay, for the special, I'm going to class it up or whatever. So yeah, and that's, you know, now my other favorite thing about this shirt is I hardly ever wear it in and around Christmas. I wear this on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Because he's dead.
yeah, because we remember him fondly, of course, and you know, on Thanksgiving, I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Hers was better.
hers was better, but it's
An anti-tag.
the color, the contrast, the warmth. It has a lot of cool things going for it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite elements
Yeah.
is this isn't always the case. Is it's white underneath. Right, so sometimes the shirt is kind of like reverse print, like on both sides, but for some reason the way it's printed and screened on it.
Yeah.
So I do have an affinity for shirts that are patterned on the outside and white on the inside.
I'm so glad I asked. Yeah. This is just. Oh no, we're getting the light.
We are.
You know what that means?
What does it mean?
It means we got to respect the light. We got to wind down. We got to respect the light.
Who's policing it?
Do we have 1 minute?
I mean, it's your choice to go over the light or not.
Usually it's a 1 minute, right?
It absolutely is, and we have had that conversation with some guests that the light usually means you've got 1 minute, or actually that's on a 5-minute set.
Yeah.
In like an hour set, you can ask for the light whenever you want it, right? So hey, give me the light with 10 left, you know. So
I
it's really
need to
just an indicator.
I'm a
of,
good little girl. I'm going to respect the light. I'm going to thank you. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Isaac Kiener. You were an awesome guest.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming in today. And I want to thank everyone who's watching the show, enjoying, maybe even learning from it. And thank you everyone who's still chasing that stage time. Come back next week and we'll have more conversations with stories from the scene. Thank you.